Right everyone, the Livingston Lions versus Celtic, a ground we've not won at since I was 6 years old. That's a joke, by the way. I think I was 8. It has been a horrible place for Celtic to play in recent years. We're going to get into that recent record, both home and away against Livingston, some findings from our most recent visit to West Lothian, comments from Ange, team news, predicted 11s and more in today's video. I am pretty apprehensive about this game tomorrow, everyone, and I'm probably not alone in feeling that way. I'm actually kind of more nervous than I will be for the Rangers game, I think. That's probably a lie, but I do feel quite nervous about this game. But on the flip side, I think there's excitement there as well. There's a massive opportunity for Celtic and Ange's team to really come out tomorrow and put this hoodoo to bed and come away with a massive 3 points. I think we've come on a lot since we last played Livingston. Ange has already spoken about this week, the fact that Celtic are in a much better place than we were probably in either of the games that we've played against them so far this season. So we've got to look at it as a massive opportunity for Celtic tomorrow. As I say, imagine the boost we will get if we go there and, by hook or crook, come away with a massive victory. But it's not going to be easy at the Spaghetti Had. This is a recent record there since Livingston came back into the top flight, and it's not great, as you can see. The most recent loss there back in September of last year, a 1-0 defeat. That followed a couple of 2-2 draws that we had, one of them pretty memorable, when Tom Rogic scored a last-minute equaliser on the night Rangers lost at home to Hamilton. The other one, not quite as memorable last season with no fans there. Prior to that, it wasn't much better either. Our heaviest defeat, if you will, back in October of 2019, a 2-0 loss when Lyndon Dykes tore Christopher Julian apart. And our first visit back ages ago now, in November 2018, was a pretty forgettable 0-0 draw. Now, I've been at 3 of those games and I'm yet to see Celtic actually scoring away from home against Livingston. So see if you can work out what games I'm talking about there. You can see where the nerves come from. In addition to this, Livingston have actually held us to 3 goalless draws at Celtic Park in the last 4 seasons, including just a few months ago when Giakoumakis missed that penalty. So they are tough opposition, home and away, but it seems to be especially difficult going away to that daft plastic pitch that I will absolutely never criticise on the channel. To be fair though, it's only really this season's games that are very relevant because Celtic changed so much over the summer, and off the top of my head, tomorrow we'll probably have at least 3 or 4 players starting that have never played away from home at Livingston, so maybe that could be a good thing for us. Ange actually said yesterday that he and his analysis team and the coaching team were more interested in Livi's recent displays rather than any of their games against Celtic this season, which kind of makes a bit of a mockery of my Friday night. Thanks, Ange. Yes, as you'll know if you happen to follow me on Twitter, while you were on it enjoying yourself last night, I was grafting hard by watching Livingston's win over us from earlier this season. Sadly, I didn't have any better offers from my pals last night. I'm only kidding. I don't have pals. Anyway, I stuck the game on and I just thought I'd have a look and see if I noticed anything from either our performance or the way Livingston set themselves up that could prove to be useful for tomorrow's game. Now, the first thing worth pointing out is that this game arrived right off the back of our narrow defeat against Real Betis in Seville. As you'll probably remember, we had a lot of injury issues at this stage and we hadn't signed a lot of our current players actually, or certainly they weren't fully up to speed. So as you can see, the team was a little bit of a shambles. There were certainly some interesting choices in there, the likes of Ayeti and Bolingoli starting the match, James McCarthy in the midfield too, No McGregor, Starfelt, Taylor, Kyogo, Hatate, O'Reilly, Maida or Giakoumakis. The bench was Bain, Scales, Beaton, Sorrow, Johnston, Montgomery and Ralston. So not a great lot of options there to change the game either. It's interesting when you rewatch a game like this how you sometimes view it differently when you know the result. The narrative after the loss was that Celtic had been abysmal the whole match, and for a good chunk of it we were, but we actually started the game really well. There was a real tempo and intensity to our play. Livingston got a booking after 15 seconds, which I'd completely forgotten about. Nicky Devlin, they got 2 more in the next 20 minutes. So they had 3 players booked inside 20 minutes. And I think a lot of that was down to the speed Celtic were playing at. Now, the first thing I noticed, as you'll see from this photo, is that Livingston really hounded us from the start. Here's David Turnbull getting pressed when he's not even got the ball yet. He's just about to receive the ball. Meanwhile, the Livi number 12 there is already pressing James McCarthy, who's likely to get the ball next. Livingston did this for about 10 minutes or so, and they couldn't keep up this pressing for too long, and it fills me with a little bit of confidence for tomorrow, because our best midfielder in terms of protecting the ball and moving the ball quickly is Callum McGregor, and he wasn't playing in the last game. Possibly Reo Hatate could be in that midfield as well tomorrow instead of McCarthy and Turnbull. You know, nothing against those guys. I think Turnbull especially is a very good player, but they're guys I think that want a little bit more time. I don't know if they're designed to play away to Livingston when they're being hounded like that, and I think it showed. I mean, that midfield that day, McCarthy, Turnbull and Rogic were pretty abysmal. So I think that's a big plus tomorrow, that we're going to have certainly McGregor in there, possibly Hatate as well, players who have a bit more urgency about them. Now, Livi do tend to empty the midfield, as we saw in those shots, so there will be space for our attacking midfielders if we can beat the press quickly. Here's Tom Rogic finding a little bit of space. He always feels key in these games away to Livi because he can get the ball on the half turn and actually commit players. He's strong. I mean, he's so strong, Tom Rogic, and he's actually deceivingly quick with the ball at his feet. So as much as he struggled for form a little bit, I thought he was better on Wednesday night. I think he's a player that we want to see in that starting lineup tomorrow. Equally, Livi were really pressing our wingers. So the minute the ball went out to either Jota on the left or Abada on the right, the 2 players that will probably play tomorrow in those positions, the Livi fullbacks were right out, pressing aggressively. Now, I think there's an option for both of our wingers to run in behind. As you can see there, Livingston do have a little bit of a gap between their fullbacks and the 3 central defenders. So I think that's areas where Celtic can exploit them. The big thing that I noticed about Livingston in this game is they are more than happy when they are behind the ball, looking at the whole game. They can be nice and compact and organised. When you make them turn and run towards their own goal, they don't look nearly as effective or as organised, and I think that's something we really need to do tomorrow. Now, Celtic were pretty good for the first 20-25 minutes. We didn't really create a lot, but we were the much better team. Livingston didn't have a chance at all, but then they scored after 25 minutes. It was their first attack of the match, and from that point, Celtic really struggled. I think the whole game and the frustrations and the fact we couldn't penetrate their defence, and even the Celtic support, which is effectively a home game when you play there, kind of got on the players and they really struggled as a result. And Ange reckons this is something that we'll be better at tomorrow. We've got more composure now. He thinks we'll be able to keep it better on Sunday, and that is certainly something to keep an eye on if, God forbid, we do go behind or it's goalless, you know, into the last half an hour of the game. It'll be interesting to see how much Celtic have really come on. Now, tomorrow is all about taking responsibility for me. The best chance Celtic had in the whole game was actually made by Sorrow for a Yeti. Don't laugh, that's how desperate things were back in September. Now, Sorrow gets the ball here, and it's actually the first time in the whole game that a Celtic player drives forward and plays a real forward pass. Nothing out to the side. Livingston are more than happy for you to play it out to the sides. Sorrow, good on him, goes right forward, and a Yeti as well, turns quickly, and the goalkeeper, Strycek, makes a really good save. Committing players and being brave is key. It's easy to take the safe option and just keep the ball and put it out wide, but as I say, that's exactly what Livingston want you to do, and I think Hatate, if he plays, could be a key player for Celtic in doing that. So just to summarise my dull Friday night, match their aggression, make them run back towards their own goal, don't get frustrated and lose the game plan, and be brave and take responsibility. Not too much to ask for Celtic, and I'll certainly be asking for funner Friday nights in future. Okay, team news wise, and as we said yesterday, Georgios Giacomakis is back for this match. I would certainly expect him to start given the physical presence that he'll offer us. This is the combined 67 hail predicted 11, so we've all had input in this. This isn't just my team, and I think a few of the guys reckon that Nir Bitton could be playing in that holding role with Callum McGregor moved up one. That's the side we're going for, as I say, Abada and Jota feeding Giacomakis. The fullback positions are always something that's spoken about, but I think Juranovic on the right and Taylor on the left is probably the way to go. I'm just not really a fan of playing Juranovic on the left, but possibly Ralston could come in. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Livy-wise, no injury concerns for them. They're pretty much full strength with the likes of Bruce Anderson, Alan Forrest and John Nubley, their main attacking threats. Now, none of those three players started the last time we went away to the Spaghetti Had, so they've changed a lot as well. I think it's important to remember that. The referee, to bring the mood down, is Nick Walsh. He hasn't officiated a Celtic match since the League Cup semi-final against St Johnstone in November. He's, not great. But let's hope the Celtic performance tomorrow is so good that we don't have to rely on anything like that. Let's see how it goes tomorrow. Given my statement earlier, you'll be absolutely delighted to know that I'm going to the match. So maybe I'll get to see my first ever Celtic goal away to Livingston. I obviously won't be on the reaction, so John and Stevie will be manning the fort. So hopefully they're talking about a huge Celtic victory. I'll speak to you on Monday. Positive vibes, everyone. Let's do this.